Daniela Dahl, a 19-year-old Swede, is just one of thousands of young people who has had her life destroyed by the swine flu vaccine in 2009. The vaccine gave her narcolepsy, a brain disorder associated with uncontrollable sleep attacks, hallucinations, and catalepsy. "I trusted them," she said. "I trusted them. One injection and my whole life changed." 50,000 people in Germany now have narcolepsy, according to a report in Die Welt from January of this year. Every sixth sufferer is a child. The average age is between 15 and 25 years old. The governments of Norway, Sweden, Finland, and Ireland have confirmed that the many cases of narcolepsy are due to the pandemic vaccine. There are many more cases expected to appear soon. The horrifying thing is that nothing much has changed. We, the people of the world, still face the same monolithic threat from a mass vaccination campaign with the pandemic vaccine today as we did in 2009. The same pandemic vaccine is still being recommended by the World Health Organization. If anything, a review of the pandemic by the World Health Organization in 2011 has resulted in an even greater threat to the global population. It allows for even more pandemic vaccines to be delivered even faster to the people of the world. The biggest change in 2011 is the privatization of the pandemic virus warning system. Here we have a clear conflict of interest. Big Pharma, which stands to make the most profit from declaring a pandemic emergency, now has control over the World Health Organization's pandemic warning system. Pharmaceutical companies like GlaxoSmithKline have become key stakeholders in a network of WHO laboratories scattered around the globe, which is supposed to track the progress of a pandemic virus. The secret influence of big pharma companies on the World Health Organization vaccine policy in 2009 has since been exposed. WHO even changed the definition of a pandemic to be able to declare a pandemic emergency level 6 and trigger multi-billion-dollar contracts for big pharma. Baxter nearly started a global pandemic in 2009 when staff contaminated 72 kilos of the seasonal flu vaccine material with the deadly bird flu virus at its biosecurity level 3 facilities in Austria. Baxter had also pre-negotiated contracts to sell the pandemic vaccine. It has since emerged that Baxter is a site which is critical to US security, according to leaked diplomatic cables published by WikiLeaks. The question is, who runs this biosecurity facility? Is it the CIA? Is it a secret bioweapons lab? How could an incident of the kind that occurred in 2009 happen at Baxter's facility? It gets worse. The same pandemic vaccine is not only being recommended by the World Health Organization, WHO has announced plans to stockpile 150 million doses of pandemic vaccine. The purpose is to deliver the toxic vaccine even faster to the population of the globe. Pharmaceutical companies have also announced plans to transfer vaccine and adjuvant manufacturing technology around the globe to make sure everyone can be given these jabs more quickly. In 2009, plans to vaccinate 6 billion people around the world were activated by WHO. Yes, 6 billion people. Remember all the hype about a virus which could kill 95% of the population? Remember all the reports about crematoriums and mass graves? Imagine if the pandemic vaccine campaign had succeeded. There would now be millions of people around the globe, overwhelmingly young people like Daniela Dahl, suffering from narcolepsy and other autoimmune diseases. In 2009, France came closest to declaring martial law over the pandemic. Hundreds of vaccine facilities were set up around the country. Many of them were specially secure facilities with windows with iron bars, for example. Police actually marched into hospitals and forced doctors and nurses to go to these centers to administer the swine flu pandemic vaccine. In the end, only 6% of the French population took the swine flu pandemic vaccination because of the information available on the alternative media. The vaccination campaign in France was abruptly stopped when a group of activists filed charges of mass poisoning in a civil court in Paris against the French health minister Roselyne Bachelot at the end of 2009. Her lawyers couldn't find any answer to the evidence. After the first day of the court case in Paris, Roselyne Bachelot appeared on French TV and announced the end of the vaccination campaign, which was originally designed to vaccinate 100% of the French population by the end of January of 2010. This mass vaccination campaign was triggered in spite of the fact that the swine flu virus was so mild. Only 29 people, according to official figures, died of the swine flu in 2009. 3,000 people usually die from a seasonal normal flu every year. In spite of all the hype from governments, big pharma and the mainstream media, only 1% of the people in Italy and Spain took the pandemic vaccine, 3% in Austria, 3% in Israel, about 6% in Germany and France, and 5% in Sweden, or about 500,000 Swedish people. In Poland, no one took the vaccine because the health minister Eva Kopacz, a doctor, decided that it wasn't safe enough. As a doctor, my guiding principle has to be not to damage others, Kopacz told the Polish parliament in 2009. We will not buy the vaccine against the swine flu. The Polish health minister was alone in refusing to trigger the pandemic vaccine contract with Big Pharma, apart from Russia, a country which also doesn't have chemtrails. And the Polish government paid a terrible price. Just days after Eva Kopacz gave evidence about the pandemic vaccine at the Parliamentary Assembly of the Council of Europe, PACE, 96 top Polish government and military officials were killed in a mysterious plane crash in Smolensk, itself now the subject of inquiry, after an enormous amount of evidence showed that this was not an accident, but an assassination attempt. The head of the PACE inquiry, UK MP Paul Flynn, dropped all mention of the scientific evidence that the swine flu vaccine adjuvant was damaging, the very reason that Kopacz, a doctor, had refused it. In his final report, published just a few weeks later in June 2010, Eva Kopacz has been pretty much silent about the vaccine ever since. The PACE inquiry was a fraud and persuaded people that something had happened when nothing fundamentally had changed, and we face the same monolithic danger of a mass vaccination campaign with the same toxic vaccine as in 2009. Paul Flynn and PACE did not examine the evidence that the pandemic vaccine is dangerous. He excluded the issue of the political and military factors involved in a pandemic level 6 emergency declaration. He did not examine the issue that we can be given this pandemic vaccine by force, and there are provisions for forced quarantine. The PACE inquiry lulled people into thinking that effective action had been taken when no effective action has been taken. No one has been brought to justice, not James Murdoch, the son of Rupert Murdoch, who sat on the board of GlaxoSmithKline between January 2009 and January 2012. The Murdoch media empire promoted the pandemic virus hype. Justice has not been brought to Andrew Whitty, the chief executive of GlaxoSmithKline, the pandemic's manufacturer of pandemics. Andrew Whitty was even awarded a knighthood by Prince Charles in May of this year. The managers who nearly started a global bird flu pandemic in Baxter in 2009 have also not been brought to justice. Alex Jones and InfoWars played a key role in promoting the PACE pandemic false investigation. From the very beginning, Alex Jones promoted the virus hype. It was only when information about the vaccines began to circulate on the internet that Alex Jones followed the wave to retain credibility. From the beginning, he excluded all the main critics of the pandemic vaccine, like Dr. Rebecca Carley and myself from his show. Alex Jones even lied to his listeners about the reason why I did not appear on his show. The truth is, I was invited by his staff, but when the time came for me to take the call, there was no call from InfoWars. German lawmaker Wolfgang Wodak appeared out of nowhere on the Alex Jones show when the vaccine campaign was over and when it was clear that it had failed. Alex Jones helped promote Wolfgang Wodak and the PACE inquiry as the spearhead of the criticism against the mass pandemic vaccination program. The deceit extends beyond Alex Jones to other parts of the alternative media, including Jim Core in Ireland. Jim Core has never used his high profile or his many appearances on mainstream Irish TV to spread the word about the damage caused by the pandemic vaccine. What has happened to me since 2009 is a salutary warning about how little real free speech we have in Western Europe. In 2010, 3 attempts were made to psychiatrize me by elements in the Austrian government and also elements in the global elite. A government-paid researcher at the Ludwig Boltzmann Institute called Lucas Kenner, funded by Baxter, tried to have me confined twice at the start of 2010. He is also a doctor and a pathologist at Vienna's main hospital, and he has published about his cancer research in a Rockefeller journal. He had never met me, but he went to a psychiatrist who also works on a government bioethics committee and asked her to have me confined. An Austrian police inspector has filed charges against the psychiatrist, but the court case has still not started. The board of the Ludwig Boltzmann Institute reads like a who's who of the Austrian elite. Bankers, industrialists, media tsars, and politicians of all parties sit on it. There is Christian Konrad, the head of Raiffeisen Bank, Dr. Ferdinand Mayer from Raiffeisen Bank, Franz Löschnack, the former Social Democrat health minister, Christian Rehner, the editor of magazine Profil, and Markus Bayer of the Austrian State Holding Company. Bayer is now going to take over a position in Brussels. A third attempt was made to psychiatrize me by putting me under court guardianship, but that attempt also failed because I could prove the judge had lied and the publicity was too great. I am an experienced medical journalist who has written for The Nature, The Medical Journal, The Scientist, and many other publications. I presented facts and documents about the pandemic and the pandemic vaccine. What I said has proved to be accurate. That is why the globalist elite wanted to eliminate me. The stage is now set for another event to trigger a pandemic. This time, an act of bioterrorism could be used. Albert Osterhaus, a key advisor to the World Health Organization, claims to have found an especially deadly variant of the bird flu virus. This was published in Nature just a couple of weeks ago. Osterhaus also had shares in a firm producing the swine flu pandemic vaccine in 2009. The Olympics in London, for example, would be a perfect opportunity to spread some toxins and spark yet another fake pandemic and push for a global mass vaccination campaign. This time, WHO laboratories controlled by Big Pharma would hype the virus even more than they did in 2009. There are more and more signs that the global elite are planning a pandemic scare soon. In May, the government of Burkina Faso in Africa ended a major pandemic emergency exercise based on a scenario where a virus like influenza appears in a remote village. In spite of all the huff and puff, we face the same danger today that we faced in 2009. The same toxic pandemic vaccines can be given to us in the event of a pandemic emergency level 6. Big pharma companies have got greater control over the WHO's pandemic early virus warning system, allowing them greater opportunities for virus pandemic hype.